What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to talk about what's happening with the overall market and break down some very important levels. I'm also going to break down some big news that's coming out for Tesla, as Tesla's announcing another big software update to help fix a lot of Teslas that are going through something very important. But let me just mention that I am not a financial planner, so make sure you take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. Anyways, for SPY in the markets, we're actually seeing attempts to rebound, but some stocks like Tesla are looking a little bit weaker as we have some negative news. So, I want to break down what the news is saying about these stocks. Then we're going to talk about these charts. On Tesla, we have a possible head and shoulders like structure that's trying to develop. If we lose this low right here at 192.5, that's the support I was looking at. I do think we could be tipping all the way back into the high 180s all over again. As during bullish, you want to see this break at least 202, then we could start running back up. But this is looking a little bit more bearish, at least in terms of the pattern. Now, the question is, will we lose key support? That's going to depend on if we can hold to this level right here. So I'm going to give you guys more information about this in just a couple of minutes. But I just want to mention that there's some big news coming out. Tesla's going to be fixing 1.7 million vehicles in China, according to a market regulator. So there's news that's coming out that Tesla had this like recall. And once again, it's not an official recall. This is just what the media likes to call it. But basically, all it needs is an over-the-air software update, which they said on for today that this is going to be necessary for them to improve some issues. So what's happening is Tesla's second largest market involves the imported Model S and X vehicles and Chinese made Model 3 and Y vehicles that could fail to detect the front trunk lid being unlocked, and that could lead to some potential safety hazards, according to many state market regulations. So that's very important. Tesla's once again going to be announcing this software update to help fix and address a lot of these issues. So there's been a lot of talk about that, and some sources are still calling this like a recall. That's a little bit more negative for Tesla's part of why it's dipping. There's also this big news that came out right here. So, according to a cited source from the government house in Thailand, Tesla has scrapped its plan to open a factory in Thailand just for the time being. This is not a guarantee that it's going to last forever. Thailand is known for having very, very useful resources for battery production for Tesla. So, it's a very, very pivotal area for Tesla to try to continue to build a factory there, in my opinion. And I don't think that this is permanent. This is just a very, very temporary a move that could be being made right now, according to reports at least. Tesla's expected to announce whether it would set up a factory in Thailand or not. It was expected to announce that back in November, excuse me, guys. But for now, things are looking like they may be delayed. So we'll have to see how things go. I wouldn't say we're officially just never going to build anything there. It's possible Tesla will eventually build a factory, but for now, the plan is just not something Tesla's as focused on for the time being. The reports are saying that right now Tesla's going to prioritize basically making investments for charging stations and such. So that's what Tesla's going to be focusing on for now. This all could change, in the next few months. In 1 month, everything could change. In 1 year, everything could change. This is not a 100% guarantee. Reports are saying that as of right now, Tesla is not prioritizing just building a factory right now in Thailand. So it's something that's worth noting, especially during times like this with high interest rates. So the question is, what's going to happen from this point on? Tesla needs to reclaim 202 to turn back up. If we fail to do so, there's going to be a risk of some downside. So just be very, very mindful of this. Tesla has a head and shoulders like structure that is developing, especially on its 30 minutes time frame. Let me switch over to the hourly, so it's actually a little bit easier to see right here. So once again, you guys can see it's looking a little bit weaker on the 1 hour time frame. We're barely holding the support around this 195 area. And if that fails, I think that there's going to be a bigger risk of us tipping all the way down to much lower levels, all the way down to this 192 zone. This is where our support happens to be. If we lose this, I think Tesla could easily start tipping all the way down to 190, if not that 188 area. So just be very mindful of this and be very, very careful with the way things are moving. There is a risk of some downside for Tesla, in my opinion. If we do manage to reclaim our key resistance, if we reclaim and break past 202, yes, Tesla could try to bounce. Otherwise, this is looking a little bit more bearish, guys, especially because of this news that's coming out in China. There's also news coming out involving, the whole Middle East situation. That's like going to be very, very big in case something really big were to happen. So we'll have to see what happens. Right now, at the time of recording this, there hasn't been a massive escalation, but we'll see. I'm still a little bit concerned about that, at least for the markets. And besides that, there's not really a whole lot else that's coming out, at least thus far. So for Tesla, Make sure you watch our resistance currently around this 198 zone. We have this trend line that's worth watching for. If that breaks, our next target's up to about 200. If we reject and end up losing 194, I'll be looking at 192 as our key supports. If that fails us, we turn more bearish. So be careful, guys. Tesla has a head and shoulders like pattern, and we are favoring the downside direction, but we haven't officially lost 192 to turn really bearish, so we're still holding some support. So just be mindful of all of this. Now for SPY, what's interesting is I was saying that the trend was more bullish. Notice that SPY did push higher. We went all the way up to about the 526 area, but now we're retracing a little bit. Watch 522 as key support our 20 EMA. If we lose that, our next target is going to be 518. If we manage to break past resistance right over here, if we break past this resistance, I think that SPY could attempt to push back up to much higher levels. We want to see if this can try to break past 525.5. That's going to be one resistance. That's where we had this previous wick. It's about 526. And if that breaks 528, it's going to be our next target. So watch to see if we can hold 522. We are retracing just a bit. But like I said before, as of right now, the trend is more bullish. We're making higher highs and higher lows. The trend turns bearish if we lose 515. So for now, we're technically still uptrending. But watch this 522 support and see if we hold this. And then once again, if we end up eventually bouncing, we got to try to break 526, try to push all the way up for this gap fill. So watch and see if that ends up being the case. Stocks like Nvidia pushed quite a bit. We did end up pushing up, which is what I was predicting, up to this 106 area, but now we're retracing a little bit. So watch and see if Nvidia could hold a 102.71. If we lose that, we could turn back down. If we hold that, we could try to rebound. That's going to be our key support, so watch that very carefully. Bitcoin also bounced. It went back up to about the 56,000 area. We're still kind of shuffling here. We're doing a good job at holding up. For other stocks like ES, just like SPY, it made a nice move, but we're testing our 50 EMA. That's just under 5,300. So it made a very, very nice push, but now we're just fighting some tough resistance. Want support at 52.67. We're also looking more bullish on SPX. We could continue to push higher. Going to be looking for 52.80 as a potential resistance. So I see potential in SPX. For the QQQ, we're looking a little bit more bullish of a nice uptrend that's trying to form here. We have resistance at this 442 area. If we manage to hold above that, I'd be looking for a test of this 444 area. And then we also have this gap to fill that breaks up to 448. Want support at 439. If that fails, this will be dipping all the way down to about 437. You got to try to hold 437. So we'll see how well this ends up holding up. If 437 breaks, we'll be watching 435. And if that breaks, we turn bearish. So just be careful. This trend is technically a little bit more in favor of bulls. Unless we lose 435, we turn back down. So I'll be watching that just to be safe. For Apple, we're just completely range bound. We have support around 202 and we have some resistance at around 212. We've been going back and forth, but we are looking a little bit more bearish. We were kind of like downtrending right here, so I do see risk of this dipping to about 204 again. So just be careful with that. IWM coming back down to 203. It tried to rebound, came just short of this gap fill, only to reject. So look at support at 202 and see if that holds. If not, 200. For Coinbase, we're kind of rejecting right here. We need to try to get back above 192. If we fail to do so, I see a risk of this dipping back down to 182. For Amazon, we're holding up decently. We're just completely flat. I want to see it break past 162 to really start pushing. We need to get a clean big break above that. Otherwise, we're just very stuck, kind of shuffling. Meta, of all things, was looking more bullish. I called that out yesterday. I liked the setup on Meta. So I think we could get closer to 500 and we'll see if we reject or not. So it still has potential to push. Same thing with Microsoft, pretty decent setup, and watch that resistance around 404. If we were to break 404, we would turn higher and start pushing for about the 408 area. If we lose 400, we'll be dipping back down. So this favors upside as a stronger possibility. For Google, we're not doing a good job at holding up. We're looking a little bit more bearish. We have this rejection that's potentially forming. So watch 158 and see how well we hold up. And look at resistance at 162. This favors downside just a little bit more, so watch and see how that ends up going. With that being said, I want to thank you all so much for listening. I hope you guys have a great day. The market is holding up, I would say, decently. We saw a little bit of a dip in some stocks that are holding up. Other stocks are a little bit weak. So it's kind of mixed. But for Tesla, I am seeing a little bit of weakness building in it. There's a little bit of weakness because of all this bad news that came out. I'm not a fortune teller. I can't always predict what the news will say about Tesla, but I can react to what ends up happening. So we'll see how things go. I did say yesterday Tesla could push a little higher. We did push during the pre-market. We did push, but the move did come to fill this gap. But then since that happened, we got bad news and Tesla's coming back down just a bit. So we'll see how things go. So I wish for the best for everyone. Don't forget about the situation in the Middle East. Just note that the market is still trying to rebound, anticipating the Feds eventually cut even more than expected. And we'll see how things end up going. The market's attempting to recover a bit. Some stocks are holding up, others are looking kind of weak. And Tesla's a little bit weak because of some bad news. But once again, it's not like it's crashing or anything. It's still showing some life. It's still trying to hold some support. So we'll see how well Tesla does. With that being said, watch out. Just know that Tesla has a more bearish looking setup, and we'll see how things end up developing from here. Thank you for listening. I'll see you guys in a few hours, and peace out.